In the last few minutes, Buckingham Palace has released the details of the funeral arrangements for the Duke of Edinburgh. The funeral will be held here at Windsor Castle next Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. It won't be a full state funeral. It is being described instead as a ceremonial royal funeral, reflecting the Duke's wishes. The Duke's body will rest in the private chapel at the castle. There will be no official lying in state. The Queen has approved the Prime Minister's recommendation that there is now 8 days of national mourning. And the start of the funeral next Saturday will be marked with a 1-minute silence. Well, those details have just been announced in the last few minutes, as I say. So let's get more on the details from our royal correspondent, Daniela Relf, who is with me. And everything that we're learning today, Daniela, is very much, we're told, what the Duke wanted.
Absolutely. I think we can safely say that this is exactly the kind of funeral he wanted, and that he was heavily involved in the planning and preparations for this funeral before his death. As strange as it may sound, this is the funeral that he wanted and the funeral he wanted for his family. And this afternoon, a spokesperson for Buckingham Palace has said that the funeral itself will be a celebration of a remarkable life. It has been approved by the Queen because there have been a few changes because of the COVID restrictions. But as you say, it will be here in Windsor at St George's Chapel within the castle walls and the precincts of the castle at 3 o'clock next Saturday afternoon. The Duke's coffin will be carried on a Land Rover within the castle precincts. And would you believe that Land Rover has been especially adapted, and it was designed by the Duke himself. He wanted this specially adapted Land Rover to carry his own coffin, and he was involved in the designs. He was someone who loved design and engineering, and he wanted this Land Rover, this specially adapted Land Rover, to carry his coffin on the day of his funeral. So that is what will happen. It will move within the castle precincts to the steps of St George's Chapel. It will be draped in his own personal standard. There will be a single wreath lying on the top of the coffin, along with his naval cap and his sword. The coffin will then be carried by the Royal Marines up the steps into St George's Chapel. It will pause at the top for that minute silence at 3 o'clock next Saturday afternoon here in the UK, and then we'll go inside for the family funeral service.
And there are families across the country, across the world, who have had to have very different funerals over the course of the last year, not the sort of ceremonies that they would have wanted for their loved ones. And to a degree, that will apply in this case as well. I mean, I am assuming there are still restrictions on the number of people who can attend, for example.
Yeah, it will absolutely apply. And Buckingham Palace staff and the family themselves are very conscious of how this will look, and the experience of so many other families over the past year. They will absolutely abide by COVID regulations on numbers, which will mean 30 people only can attend the Duke's funeral. Now, that is a personal guest list, effectively, of the Queen, of 30 people. There will be some extras because the pallbearing party, the clergy count as people performing a professional duty, an actual duty on the day. So there will be extras. But in terms of the guest list, as it were, for the funeral, that will just be 30 people. So as so many others have shared over the past year, it is the same for the royal family. It will effectively be the Queen, the 4 children, the grandchildren, and some members, personal members of staff that were very close to the Duke of Edinburgh. That is effectively the party that will be inside St George's Chapel for the service itself.
And in terms of the public then, I mean, there have been, of course, exhortations ever since the Duke's death was announced not to congregate, not to gather. We've seen the extent to which that hasn't entirely worked here today at Windsor. Yeah. People have really wanted to come. So what are they saying about how that situation will be managed, I suppose, particularly here in Windsor, this time next week?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because Windsor is this royal town, and they are very used to significant royal events where the town itself can have a part to play. But this really isn't the case next Saturday, and Buckingham Palace could not have been clearer. It is not the family's wishes that the public should come and try and see anything next Saturday, because quite simply there will be nothing to see. And the best place to watch the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral is on the television next Saturday. The whole event will be televised. The service itself will now also be televised from within the chapel. So everybody is perhaps best positioned to pay their respects and to watch what is happening from the comfort of their own home. They do not want people to come here to Windsor. There will obviously be extra security and extra policing, and the public will be positively discouraged from coming into the town and waiting here at the castle. They won't see anything because everything will happen behind the castle walls here.
Yes, so the palace is being quite clear on that. Just a final thought, Daniela, in terms of who has been here today, who is visiting. We've seen Prince Edward, of course. And what do we know about whether other members of the family will be arriving here, will be coming to see the Queen in the course of the week to come?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we will see some comings and goings of members of the royal family, although we are not being told exactly who's going to come. So a little like today, we saw Prince Edward, his wife, the Countess of Wessex, going in and out of the castle, and the vehicle actually stopped for a little bit, and the Countess of Wessex said, you know, the Queen has been amazing, when asked how the Queen was. And next Saturday, I should just say, in terms of members of the royal family, we are expecting to see senior members of the royal family walk behind that Land Rover with the Duke's coffin up to St George's Chapel next week. We're also expecting to see the Duke of Sussex here. We're told that he will be coming to the funeral from the United States. His wife, the Duchess of Sussex, on the recommendation of her doctors, will not be here, but we will see Harry here at his grandfather's funeral next weekend.
Daniela, for now, thank you very much. Our royal correspondent, Daniela Relf, with all the arrangements that have just been announced in the last few minutes for the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral.